Welcome to the InvestFourMore Real Estate Podcast. My name is Mark Ferguson, and I am your host. I'm a house flipper. I flip 10 to 15 houses a year. I own 13 rental properties with a goal to buy 100 by 2023. I'm also a real estate agent. I've been licensed since 2001. I run a team of 9. We sell close to 200 houses a year. So on this show, we like to interview house flippers, landlords, and the best real estate agents in the business. So stay tuned for some great shows. If you want more information on my rentals, on the numbers, how I buy properties, check out InvestFourMore.com. Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with InvestFourMore. Welcome to another podcast on the InvestFourMore Real Estate Podcast. I have a really interesting guest on today. I want to hear his story a lot. I haven't heard the full thing yet, so I'm excited to have him. David Corbaley, who has been a Green Beret, a firefighter, transitioned into real estate investing, created a 7-figure marketing company, is on with us today. So David, how are you doing? And thank you for being on the show.
Hey Mark, I'm fantastic. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yep, nope, I'm excited to talk to you and learn kind of how you got into real estate, how your whole career transitioned. You know, I always like to start with my guests, how they first got started in real estate, but I'm actually kind of interested about your Green Beret career a little bit too. How much can you tell us about that? Is it all classified, or can you tell us, how you transitioned?
I can definitely tell you. I can definitely tell you some stuff. So, right out of high school, I joined the military. Actually, I left high school early because let me back up and just say that I when I start the story, I always like to preface it with something that people can relate with. And I think a lot of us who, all of the listeners and stuff, we're probably pretty much in the same boat. And that is that since we're, trying to be in business for ourselves, or we're a little different, right? We just want to do things a little bit differently. We might have a job or punch the clock or even our own business, a contractor business or whatever, but we're looking for that freedom and we don't know it. So when I was younger, when I was in school, I was that way. I had no idea. I thought I was just a problem child, so I couldn't stand school. It bored the heck out of me, and I actually left school early to join the military because I just couldn't stand it anymore. And I didn't realize then, but I realize now that it's just because I'm different. Like most of us, most entrepreneurs are. We just don't understand what it's not a problem, but what's wrong with us, and that's actually a good thing. So I joined the military and spent a couple of years in, and then that's when things really started. That pull began for me was, I was in my early 20s. I'd been in the military for a couple of years. I'd, gone to Germany, and I was in the infantry, and I would see these helicopters flying overhead, and it's just amazing to me. And I decided, I want to fly. I want to be a pilot. So I applied and went through the different testing and things like that. When it got to my Class 1 flight physical, well, I found out that my eyes weren't quite good enough to be a military pilot. So they put the kibosh on that. And I was like, dang it. So I came back to the States, and one day I was in the gym and I saw this poster, on Post. I saw this poster on the wall, and it was these guys in this Zodiac, which is, like the black inflatable boat. And they were all camoed up and had these cool weapons. And I saw this picture and I'm like, man, that is just really, really cool. And I realized that it was actually, special ops, and it was a recruitment poster. So I called the number on this poster, what, I'm just going to do this. I took the number down. We didn't have cell phones back then. So I called the number. I think I probably called it from my unit. And the guy was just really, not aloof, but mysterious. And I'm trying to well, what's this about? And he's like, well, if you want to do this, we need to meet up and have a conversation. I'm like, well, this is just kind of weird. So I did. And I ended up finding out more about special ops, and it was just kind of a secret society back then. And I applied, went through all of this testing and training just to go to the selection process. And I went to the selection process in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and that was, 3 weeks of dirty word. It was just a really, really nasty 3 weeks where they pretty much try to kill you and get you to quit. And most everybody did. And over half of the people, I think we had 300 and some people there, and over half of the people didn't make it. Either you quit or, you don't see much of things like that on TV. You see this SEAL movies, stuff like that, where they ring the bell. Think of it like that. So either people quit or they break, because people would break bones in their feet and things like that just from carrying such heavy loads for such long periods of time. And it was brutal. So finished that, went back to my unit, and then you actually go through the Special Forces training, which is anywhere from 1.5 to 2 years. And from that, there was like 79 people that started my class, and I was one of 7 to finish. So it was, needless to say, extremely intense. Some of the most difficult, actually the most difficult things I've ever done in my life, but the most rewarding things as well, because then I popped out the other side as a Green Beret and then went to my unit. This is, where we get to the point where I can't talk a whole lot about different things, but we did so many things, traveled all over the country with, I was on a team, a couple of different teams, but an A team is just a group of guys. It's 12 guys that are the most highly trained, efficient people in the world. And you are part of this. And without a doubt that there is nothing you can't do collectively as a team. And also that there is nothing you have to worry about because these guys have your back no matter what. So it's an incredible feeling. We went all over the world doing all kinds of really cool stuff. We did stateside stuff as well. We did counter drug interdictions on the southern border. Pretty amazing things, really amazing things. Got to play with the coolest, newest toys and equipment. And anyway, some of the best times I've ever had in my life, and most rewarding and challenging. But kind of a long story, but what that did was it gave me an edge, and it taught me a specific way to deal with any situation, any problem, anything like that. So that's the biggest thing that I took away from that career, was learning how to do things unconventionally, because as a Green Beret, you become an expert in unconventional warfare and also unconventional life. You learn how to do things that other people just don't think about doing. You look at things in a different manner, a different perspective, so you can come up with solutions to, problems and find ways around things. And we'll get to that, but that really helped me in the real estate and the marketing space, that I'm in now. So I got out of the service, you get to the 10-year mark, and it's either you're staying in for 20 or you're getting out. That's pretty much what it's like, because if I keep going, you usually enlist for 4 to 6 years at a time, and it's like, well, if I re-enlist, I know I'm gonna be in for 20 plus. And I saw buddies of mine. I mean, it was a great career. We loved what we did, but I saw buddies of mine getting out, 38, 40 years old, and there isn't a whole lot you can put on a resume for what we used to do that is attractive to employers on the outside. So back then, I mean, now there's contract jobs and stuff like that, but back then there really wasn't much. And I saw guys getting out and just having to take crappy jobs after all the things that we did. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to put in 10 more years to have to start over in a job like I'm seeing some of my friends have to get. I'm just not going to do that. And at the same time, I had interest, I started having interest in doing something else, right? I started getting this feeling if I wanted to work for myself, and I didn't really understand what that was. And I'll get to that in a minute. But so I got out, and then I got hired on. I was a jack of trades for a while. I was actually, again, like I said, not, you can't really make much of a resume with what we used to do. So I worked in retail, which is horrible. I was a cable installer. I actually ran lines from telephone poles to houses. I was a mechanic. I mean, whatever I could do, I did that stuff for 2 years. So kind of a jack of trades. And then I got hired on the Seattle Fire Department, which was a blessing. That was another fantastic job because it took me back to kind of a paramilitary operation where I felt at home. And while I was in the department, I was there for about 2 years. And most guys have a side job, guys and gals in the department have like a side job. Usually it's like contracting or construction or something like that. Guys do brickwork and cement work. And so I thought, well, because you have so much time off because you work 24-hour shifts. And I thought, I want to do something too. And here comes this pull again. And so this is where things kind of took a turn for me because for whatever reason, I think I was at somebody's wedding party or something, and we stayed at a hotel, and we got done with all the festivities, and I was up in my room late one night, and this infomercial came on, and it was Robert Kiyosaki, and I'm sitting there looking at this, and gosh, this is kind of interesting. So I sat there, it was 1:00 in the morning, and watched enough of this infomercial to get interested in it. And it was about the 4 quadrants, and it was actually this course you could buy. It was like $200, and that was a lot of money for me at the time. But I thought, I'm going to do this. This looks really, it's all about timing, right? and I went ahead and bought this thing. It showed up in the mail. I took it to the fire station. And, after we were done with our work one day, I just went back in the back room and just devoured this thing. And I realized that, wow, this is what I've been waiting for. This is me. I need to be in business. And because I'd done different things, right? We created this little wholesaling business where we'd get items from manufacturers, from wholesalers, and go to like a flea market and sell them. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I just knew that I wanted to do something different. And when I went through this course, I realized that, wow, this is it. I need my own business. And I realized that real estate was pretty much, I didn't have any capital. So real estate was pretty much my only option. And I also realized that creative real estate was definitely my only option because of, not having the money to do real estate. So then I think I ended up with a Carlton Sheets course and, a few different things. And I went into study mode. And this was like 2001. I went into study mode and just started learning different ways. And this is a lesson right here for everybody listening. I started learning the different ways to invest in real estate. I started learning about lease options and, creative financing where you can get owners to hold, carry the note and things like that. And I got into learning mode and I stayed in learning mode for probably 6 to 8 months. And I probably should have been in learning mode for like 3 to 4 weeks before I started looking for properties. But you're kind of scared because you've never done this before. And you're thinking, I'm talking about buying a house here. Not only that, I'm talking about buying a house and having to talk to somebody about some creative stuff that they're going to hate anyway, and it just isn't going to work. So I was in my own way. And the way that things changed were I found this guy on a forum. I was in one of the real estate forums, and I found this guy on a forum, and I actually asked him if he would help me, and he told me he would help me in exchange for a piece of, any deals I did, which I agreed to. And he told me what to do. So I actually put an ad in the newspaper talking about, I forget what it was. It was a lease option ad or maybe just a regular old We Buy Houses ad or whatever. But I put it in the Thrifty Nickel, and I actually got a few calls, and I ended up going and talking to this homeowner, Wally. And Wally was an old contractor guy who had a second house, and he couldn't sell this house that he had that he used to live in. And so we chatted, and finally Wally said, you know what? I like you. I trust you, and I'm gonna do this deal with you. And that's what he called it, was a deal, because it was my lease option deal. And that's all I knew, is how to do this lease option thing. I think that's what he called it. I'll do this lease option thing with you. So I used my paperwork that this guy had given me, and we signed up a lease option with Wally. And I put a sign in the front yard just like I was told to do. And literally I went home and I set up a voicemail system and all. It's so easy now. It was so much more complicated back then to figure out all this stuff and the technology and stuff. But now things are just so easy. But I set up a voicemail, put a sign in the yard. And by the time I got home, I had 6 voicemails from that house. And I literally put somebody in that thing within a couple of days and got a $4,000 option payment. And that was the turning point right there. When I walked away from that after just a few days with $4,000, that's what I would make in an entire month at the fire department, minus taxes and all that other stuff. So I was like, holy cow, this is really cool. Anyway, long, windy story, but that was pretty much my beginning.
Well, no, that's some good stuff. I'm curious. I talked to Jason Lucchese last week. I'm not sure if you know him.
Yeah, I know Jason.
But he's a professional bodybuilder before he got into real estate. And we talked about how it seems like so many athletes are very successful in life because they've got the motivation, the work ethic built into them. And he mentioned military too. And I'm just curious if you feel having that structure and just, you can't give up. You can't quit in the military or else you're done. Right. If that helped you succeed as well.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I believe I'm more driven today probably than anyone I know. And I think that's a big part of the reason. And anything that you do, whether it's the military or sports or whatever it is, when you have a regimen, it teaches you to have that regimen and to keep it. So those days, if you're an athlete or a school athlete or whatever, a swimmer, you might not feel like it on Wednesday, but guess what? You got to be there. Your team is there, and you got to go there and practice. Or it might be cold, and you have an outdoor pool. I mean, whatever it is, if people that have something like that, and there's so many various things you can do, but if you have something like that where you get in the habit of having to do it, then I think that carries with you through your life, but it also creates something inside of you. It's not just a habit that's formed, that habit that I got to do this, I'm just going to do it, but it creates something deep inside of you that gives you the ability to turn on that drive. And it's nothing more than self-discipline, right? It allows you to flip that self-discipline switch. No matter how miserable you are, no matter how much you hate it, you can flip that switch at any time because you've learned how to do that. So it's a huge asset.
Right. And I imagine nothing you do now is even close to what the things you went through in the military are.
No.
That was your first deal in real estate. How soon did you get the next one? How did you progress getting into the business?
So what happened was I did that first lease option, and then you get a little bit of money. So then you figure, okay, well, obviously you're going to spend some of that money because you never had it before. So it's like, well, this is cool. But then okay, what do I need to do next? I need to try and find more deals. So you still have your ad in the paper, or however back then, however you started. Okay, this worked. Let me keep doing it, and let me get some signs too. Let me get some bandit signs and put those out. And so I just started doing more types of marketing, getting calls, and what I found was I didn't know a whole lot of ways to do real estate. I basically had learned this lease option thing, and I'd studied the Carlton sheets and the things like that in the very beginning, which I don't think I ever did a deal that way. But it was kind of a holdup because actually, I think that was a very complicated way to do a deal. There's so many easy ways now to get a deal under your belt with minimal risk to you and benefit to the seller and everything else. But so the lease option thing it wasn't that attractive to the people I was talking to the sellers I was talking to. So I tried to figure out a different method. And the next thing I came across was subject to the existing financing. I actually came across a course on that. So I learned how to do subject to the existing financing, and I actually was fairly successful with that. I got a few different deals that way, and I wanted to expand my business, but for whatever reason, I was on this roller coaster. So I would get a deal here and a deal there, and I probably wasn't. Some deals were good, others were not so good. They were marginal. So I would be on a roller coaster where get a good deal, then keep going, get a mediocre deal, maybe not so good of a deal. So my revenue I would get a little spike and it would be exciting, and then my revenue would kind of dip. It's like, oh, this kind of sucks. So I was on this roller coaster doing this over and over, and I think what happened was my marketing, I wasn't focusing enough on my marketing because I would get a deal, get excited about the deal, focus on the deal, and my marketing would drop off. Well, looking back, that's a huge deal because if you're a sandwich shop, you own a sandwich shop, and you don't consistently market your business with your different mediums, you're not going to get new customers. Yeah, you're going to always have your existing customer base, but it just doesn't work that way in creative real estate. You're not going to have a motivated seller come back to you over and over and over. And most of the time, the motivated seller doesn't know other motivated sellers, so he can't go say, oh, you got to sell your house too because you're getting a divorce. So go see this guy. It doesn't work that way in our business. So we have to create new business with our marketing, and that's why our marketing is so much more important than even a traditional business like a sandwich shop or whatever. And I didn't realize this back then. So I thought I was doing a decent job marketing, but I wasn't. So it was a feast or famine thing. And what happened was when I realized this, that's when I took a step back, right? I was so ensconced in diving into this real estate business. I was in the fire department at the same time too, but I was so into learning about this business and driving this business forward that I wasn't looking at it from the outside. And when I finally realized there was a problem, I decided to take a step back and fall back on that training and look at it from a different perspective. All right, let's look at this from like an unconventional manner. What is everybody else doing? What am I being told to do by everybody else? All these other people training and teaching on how to do real estate. Well, they're all teaching the same thing. They're all teaching how to do direct mail and bandit signs and put ads in the Thrifty Nickels. And there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. And it was working. but it wasn't working to the level that I wanted it to. So back then, I started thinking about the internet. This is, 2004, 2005. I started thinking, well, the internet, people are looking for stuff on the internet. The phone book, I even did an ad in the phone book. It's very expensive. I think I got one lead off of that thing in an entire year. But I'm thinking, okay, the phone book is going away. More and more people are going to the internet. How can I make that work for me? So I started learning about the internet and how it worked and how people do search. And, Google was really coming up then. And so I started learning about marketing online and how I'm chasing people with my letters and my bandit signs. And, I'm trying to chase sellers around, hoping to find them, where the ones who are really interested, they're actually looking. They're online looking for a solution. So I started doing research on this and found that people actually were typing in stuff like how to sell my house fast and investors who buy houses. And if I could show up when those people searched, I could be the answer. And I didn't even have to send direct mail and all this other stuff. So I started learning about this. And it took me about 1.5 to 2 years to figure it out. And when I did, that was, about 2006. That is when we hit the gold rush because nobody else was really doing this back then. There was a few sites out there, but we created this junky, ugly site and, got traffic to it when people searched and they would find us and we would get phone calls. And pretty soon the phones just started ringing like every day with motivated sellers. And we were doing a lot of short sales then. So we knew exactly how to target them. And that's when our business blew up. And 2006 became the first 7-figure year. And it was amazing to learn what happens when you plug the right components into your business. So going from struggling, getting a deal, getting a junky deal, spending money, having to replace a furnace, feast, famine, basically being a contractor in my own business, to hitting it big and being able to build a team where now I had agents out working for me. I had a team in the office doing marketing. That all happened in 1 year because we started doing the right thing, which was marketing the right way. So my point of that is, for me, any business that you're in, any business, real estate, the sandwich shop, insurance, whatever it is, you're not in any business other than the marketing business. Now, sure, you have to know how to do your craft, but if you focus on being in the marketing business, you're going to win over everybody else. And that was the biggest lesson from this entire career.
That's awesome. And what you said, I'm a real estate agent. I have been for 15 years, and I talk to a lot of agents. I'm also an investor, of course, but it's really similar with the feast and famine with agents too, where they go really hard for a couple months getting clients, finding buyers, sellers, and they get a few deals, and all of a sudden they concentrate on those deals and they stop going after the buyers and sellers. They have 2 months of not selling any houses. It's up and down, up and down. Same thing. One other thing, it sounds like you were in the education phase, but you bought a lot of courses and learned from a lot of people when you first started. And I know there's a lot of people out there in the real estate industry. They call them gurus with a bad name for charging too much and taking people's money. But I would say 90% of the successful investors I talked to took some kind of course, got started with it. Even if they said it was a horrible course, it still got them started in real estate. I'm just curious, how valuable did you find, those courses and getting that material?
I would say the majority of them had great value. And the problem is, and I'll admit to this too, I bought a lot of courses. I bought $79 courses. I bought $997 courses, right? I went to boot camps. I did all of that stuff just wanting to have success. So I probably spent, $30,000, $40,000 on real estate courses and boot camps and stuff like that. A lot of money. And that's not including any coaching programs that I was in as well later on. So I spent a lot of money on that. But the bottom line is, number one, I didn't have to spend that much money. I did it because it was my fault. But the reason is, and this is for everyone, including myself, is stop learning, right? Stop learning because we think we have to keep learning and there's a better way and there's a newer way, when in reality, we're just afraid. We're just afraid to pull the trigger because most of the stuff out there, I'm sure there's courses that aren't that good, but if somebody is going to take the time to make a course, it's probably got the information in it to get you what you need. But if you go and get a course or two, I know people that have bought, 4 different courses on wholesaling. How hard is it to wholesale? How many courses do you need on wholesaling? Now, if you want to do wholesaling and then you want to do rehabs and then you want to learn about private money, sure, learn about that stuff. But the main thing here is apply. So learn what you're going to learn, but begin applying it immediately. And that's what I did. I would learn, I'd get a marketing. My big thing was buying marketing courses because I realized that was the deal. Now, I definitely bought a few different how-to courses in the beginning, but then I started getting into marketing courses because that's what I needed. So I would buy a marketing course. Oh, this is cool. I'd take it to the fire station and just plow through it in a day, be really excited, and then not really apply. My fault. And then what would I do? I would find a deal and I'd have some money and I'd buy another marketing course. Just dumb, right? But that's what we do. So my point there and my whole big tip, and when I say stop learning, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, stop learning the same stuff. Get what you need, buy what you need, invest in your education and career for sure, but take action on it. If you don't take action on it and you just look for the next shiny object, you're going to keep chasing shiny objects. I've chased a lot of shiny objects, and you know what? You find them and they just rust really quick. They're not that shiny after all.
I know.
You got to polish them. When you get it, you got to polish it and keep polishing it, and then you'll have success.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think one of the best ways to learn is to do it. I mean, you can learn all you want in theory, but you're never going to know exactly how to apply it, exactly what it takes until you actually do it and get out there and buy a house or talk to people. You can't just sit on your computer and read all day and become
absolutely. And it's scary, right? It's scary if I do this marketing, I'm excited about this. Yeah, I'm excited about motivated sellers, but in the back of your mind, you're not. You're scared. You're scared. What am I going to say when the phone rings? I remember sitting there and going to the scripts in these dang courses and studying them and practicing. And when the phone actually would ring, and I knew it was like from my, forwarded from my tracking number or whatever, it probably sounded like this. Hello? Yeah. I'm digging through my script, right? Trying to get it on the table so I can know what to say. Dumb. Just have a conversation. It isn't scary. You just think it is. You're just talking with somebody that's looking for a solution, and have a conversation with them. See if it's a fit person to person, and be straight up about what you do. If it's creative, it's creative. If you think it's wonky, you know what? If it makes sense for the seller, then it makes sense for the seller. I've gotten some crazy deals where I've walked away with the seller giving me money, right? I mean, it's all about finding the motivated people to talk to.
Right. Yep. And at least you answered your phone. A lot of people go through all that work to get someone to call, and then they're afraid to answer the phone and even talk to them. So that's the first step.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is once you start and once you do it a few times, I got an appointment. What am I going to do now? Right? It's just a step-by-step process. You talk to a few people, you finally get an appointment, you go to the house, you're just on the drive there, you just know that they're going to call you stupid and get out of my house, and I can't believe you offered me that. But they're not. And then you do that a few times, and next thing you know, the homeowner's sitting there shaking their head, and they're like, yeah, this sounds good. Let's do this. And you're like, it's just a step-by-step process. One day you'll have an agreement in your hands, and, before you know it, you'll have a check. It's like, wow, this does work. And it does.
Nice. Now, when you're doing a 7-figure business that year, were you wholesaling most of those deals, or were you flipping some of them? What was your end goal with those properties?
Those were primarily retail on the back end. So we were doing a combination of short sales and renovations. We had a crew going. I actually had a buddy. We would partner on quite a few deals, the ones that we would retail. And he ran the construction people, and then we ran the acquisition side of the business. So we were doing a ton of marketing. We actually had a machine set up where we had our marketing so dialed in that people would call or fill out web forms on our website. A team member would call them back, send them the information that they needed so they could print it out, have them bring in what they needed. They would come to our office without us even seeing the house. They would come to our office, sign all the paperwork, we'd do the deal, and then, within a couple of days, one of our people would go out to the house and get repair estimates and stuff like that, and then we would begin our thing. But we just had a machine back that was when we were doing a lot of short sales. We don't really do that anymore, but when we were doing a lot of short sales, we had a machine for that process, and it was just amazing. So that was the primary push, is the short sales, creating the spread on the short sale, and also doing rehabs and getting the max spread, the max value from the rehabs. And worked really well.
Cool. Very cool. And yeah, short sales kind of dried up, and they also added a lot of regulations and different things regarding short sales, which made it tougher, that's for sure. How did your business progress? Because that's right before the housing crisis. Did that hurt you? Did you have to change things completely?
We definitely changed things. And you're right that to step back onto the foreclosure thing, that was huge for a few years. We got in early and we rode it until like 2008 when we knew the market started to go south. We steered out of that business. We started offloading all of our inventory, and we basically ended up sitting on 3 or 4 houses for a couple of months and making some payments, but we got out of everything, which was great. And then the focus switched to actually doing more retail stuff. So find stuff, buy it, renovate it, and then keep targeting higher value properties. So we moved into the higher value properties because there was more of a spread, and we got better at doing the rehabs. And it's fun to take something and renovate it and, take it from old and dilapidated to pretty and, put a family in it. And that just is fun, and it's rewarding, and you make a lot of money when you do it. But you got to start somewhere, even if it's wholesaling for $3,000, but you work your way into what works for you. But yeah, so we transitioned into that. We're getting ready to move to Scottsdale, and I'm going to spin up a brand new business from there. We're going to start out wholesaling there, and then we're going to get into high end. When we were there looking for properties, the mid-range stuff goes really quick. The bread and butter stuff, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 goes really quick. But the high level stuff, $1 million, $1.5 million, it sits. It sits 4, 5, 6, 8 months. And the reason it sits is because most of it is old. It's 20 years, 30 years, and it needs a renovation. And there's a lot of motivated sellers there. So we're going to start wholesaling, and then we're going to move into that high level stuff and start doing high level in the $1 million houses, the rehab. So we're really excited about that.
Nice. And are you in Seattle still? I know you started out in Seattle. Is that where you're at now, or have you moved around a few times?
I'm actually, this is one of the joys of being your own boss, right? So I left Seattle. I went to Southern California and tried that out for a bit. And then I went to the southeastern side of Florida, so the other side of the world. I was there for about 6 months. And then I went to Boulder. I was in Boulder for about 3 months. And now I've been in Denver for about 4 months. And now I'm headed to Scottsdale. So for the last year and a half, I've been looking for home. And my businesses have been running because of the team that I built. That is the beauty of, being your own boss and having your own business when you structure it right, because I have a fantastic team and they have my back. If there's a time when, hey, I'm going to be like coming up, right? I'm in semi-work mode now. I'll work half the day and then I'll work on the move half the day. And our move is going to be so smooth because everything is gone. Everything is boxed. We're ready to go. We have our packing crates coming Monday, and we're going to pack them all up and go. But my team has my back because I know that I can do these half days for a week, and then next week I can not work at all for 4 or 5 days, and I will come back and everything will be running smoothly just like it always is. So I've been on my own for 10 years now, and the team that I built is phenomenal, and there's no greater joy than being free and doing what you want when you want to and not having to punch a clock or be somewhere. It's just phenomenal. And anybody can do that. You really can.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I've got a team of 10 now with agents and assistants, and they help me run, the website, my real estate team, the flips. So I know exactly what you mean. It's nice to be able to go on vacation without having to work the entire vacation like I used to. Yep. If you can find the right people, it makes your life so much easier.
Absolutely.
So you're going to Scottsdale, going to work on some high-end stuff there. Have you done a lot of high-end stuff before? I know you said you did some previously. Do you see more risk, or if you know what you're doing, is it not as risky to do the high-end stuff as the low-end stuff?
There's always risk involved, obviously, when you're retailing, because now I've never been a proponent of let me go ahead and do a subject to on this house or do owner finance and put $30,000 into a rehab. I've never been a person that suggests that, because you don't have full control of the property. So it comes down to actually owning the property when you do rehab. So that's where you incur the risk is, you're getting financing on it or you're using private money on it, where if you mess it up, you're going to ruin that private money partnership. So there's definitely risk involved. But the flip side is, you look at the numbers and the market and you take calculated risks. So well, if I get in at this price, even if things go south and I have to take a hit on this house, after my rehab costs and selling it even at a hit, I'll be fine. I can sell it even if I have to dump it because I can't sell it for X months, I'll be okay. So as long as you take the calculated risks, I think you're pretty safe. And as far as high-end stuff, we haven't done it for a while, but my previous partner who we used to do deals with in Seattle, he continued just climbing up the ladder, and they're doing beautiful, beautiful $1 million, $2 million homes now, and they do full remodels, and they're just fantastic. So I always have him to fall back on for guidance as well.
Nice. No, that's great to have. I was asking about Seattle because I know a few people there who talk about how crazy the market is in Seattle. And then being in Denver, it's absolutely nuts in Denver too. So you've been a part of a few absolutely crazy markets for appreciation right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And what does it come down to, right? No matter what the market is, if the market is extremely hot or the market just isn't that good, well, if the market isn't that good, you can still sell the house if it's priced right. Because if you can make it more attractive than the other houses on the market, people are still buying houses. Maybe not as many if you have a soft market, but they're still buying. So if your house is the most attractive one, guess what? You win. What do you have to do to get that? Well, you have to price it, better than everybody else's, but it also has to be unless it's like you're selling a fixture to an investor or something, but still it's all about the price. And if you're in a hot market, same thing. You're just going to sell it quick no matter what. It all comes down to what, though? Marketing. If you can get in the back door, everybody's marketing motivated sellers. Everybody is, right? Using mail and everything else that they've always done. But if you can get in the back door and get in touch with these motivated sellers and be the solution and get the deal at the right price, you can win in a soft market and you definitely win in a hot market, because I've heard so many times, that's such a hot market. How can you do real estate in a hot market like that? There aren't any motivated sellers. Yes, there are. There are always motivated sellers. I don't care how hot the market is. You just need to find them. And when you do, you have a smoking deal, because now you have a deal in your pocket and an ultra hot market, so you can sell it super fast. I mean, I love hot markets.
Right. Nope, I agree. I didn't know if you knew this, but I'm actually in Greeley, which is an hour north of Denver. And
I did not know that.
Yeah. So, and I went to Boulder. I went to CU, but we have 12 flips going on right now.
Nice.
In a hot market. So it's definitely possible. I mean, it can be tougher or it can be easier, like you said, depending on what's going on.
Right.
I'm not holding rentals as much here because prices are so high.
Right.
But flipping is definitely possible. One more thing I want to talk about. There's some other things I want to talk about, but as far as your investing, do you use mostly private financing or have you used banks at all? How do you normally finance your properties?
I've done both. So there's three primary ways that we'll finance, and one is with owner financing. I love that. Unless we're going to put a significant amount of money in the deal, then it's a scary thing. And if you do it that way, then definitely protect yourself. Get title no matter what, whether you do it in a trust or whatever it is. But if you're going to have the owner carry and you're going to put money at all in the property, then get control of the title somehow. And then the other way is financing. I mean, we'll go out and actually finance a property. If you can get the numbers right, you can finance a property a lot of times with nothing out of pocket. And if you do have to come out of pocket, then you can use private money for that sometimes, or money from a deal or whatever. But if the numbers are right, it isn't hard to finance a property if you have even decent credit. I mean, it was hard there for a while, but when everything crashed, 2008, probably for couple, 3-4 years, it was difficult, especially for investor financing, but things have really changed and gotten better. And if the numbers on the house work, then you're good. And then the third way is private money. And private money is probably the favorite, especially when you're looking at any renovations, because once you build the private money partnerships, people know that you're good and you're going to get the deal done and they're going to get paid. So you can get, private money at, 6% or 8% or whatever you do. And then the cool thing is when you get the numbers right, a lot of times you can actually get money at closing to fund your rehabs as well. So literally with nothing out of your pocket, you can acquire the deal, take ownership of the deal, pay for the renovation, sell the deal. And I mean, that is true, creative real estate. It's fantastic because you're not coming out of your pocket a dime and you literally have no risk. It's everybody else that has the risk. Obviously, you have to take care of them and play a smart game. But yeah, those are the 3 ways that we finance deals like that.
Nice. And I do, very similar. A mix of private financing, bank financing, and I've had good luck with banks, but supplementing that with private money has worked really well for me.
Yep.
Very cool. And now we've talked a lot about marketing, about how you've built extremely successful business from finding these marketing techniques. You created a program that kind of goes over that. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we actually, in my different mastermind groups and stuff like that in real estate, I would share what I was doing with my marketing, and a lot of it was online based. And, all of my peers, every time I would show this, they're like, oh my gosh, can you do that for me? So we started doing that for our peers and things like that, just, helping them with their online marketing. And what happened was, it's a funny story because we kind of transitioned in and out of working with businesses with their marketing and outside of real estate. And what happened was in our office one time in Seattle, one of our computers went down and there was a computer repair shop across the street. So literally at the end of one of the business days, I unplugged the box, the CPU. I just picked up the box and took it across the street and said, hey, this thing did this and this. Can you work on it? And, oh, yeah, sure. Come back and get it in a couple of days. And so when I went back, I started talking with the owner and we started sharing ideas about what we do and things like that. And told him what we do. And he's like, well, how do you get your deals? And I started talking about how we do, online marketing. And of course, he perked up and he's like, oh, man, I've been trying to nail that. We just can't get it right. I've hired consultants and we just can't get this internet thing right. And I know there's business to be had off the internet. So the next thing you know, this guy was our client. And we built a website for him. And he went from 2 computer stores in the Seattle area to 7. And it was all because of his marketing, his online marketing. And, well, who does he know? Everybody, right? Because he works on everybody's computers. So the next thing you know, we were doing online marketing for chiropractors and dentists and you name it. So we inadvertently, we didn't mean to, but we spun up this new business on marketing local businesses online. And what that did was it taught me an entirely different way to market, because I was marketing our real estate business online, but I was using specific methods to do it. And when we went down this local business marketing path, it taught us an entirely different way to market online. And in doing that, I realized that, you know what? This real estate business is a local business. It's no different than a chiropractor or a dentist. It's a local business too. And I don't care if we're in Seattle doing real estate in Phoenix. It's a local Phoenix business. So we started looking at how we can market our real estate business as a local business, and it blew up even more. So then that's where the need came in, right? You just like anything in business, if you can fulfill the need of a motivated seller, you can get a deal. Well, if you can fulfill the need of people looking for motivated sellers, you have a business. And so people started hearing about what we were doing, other investors and stuff, and they started coming to us. How do I do this? Can you help me do this? So we ended up creating, it started out with just one course on how to market your real estate business online. And this was a number of years ago, and that course just blew up. I mean, it blew up. We had customers all over the country, and that has morphed into a full business of its own, where we have an entire series of trainings and courses on how to market your business. And yeah, it just kind of morphed into that. So now we have a publishing business as well, where we do online marketing and things like that. And then we're headed into different fields like the health and wellness space and online marketing. So it's funny where life takes you. And that's really exciting because I love the online marketing component, because you can build just tribes. You can build enormous groups of people that are all interested in the same thing, and you can build great communities that way. I mean, thousands of people that are all interested in the same thing. So it's a lot of fun.
No, that's awesome. And I hadn't realized you had expanded that marketing to so many other businesses as well.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. So cool. And then I know we're running short on time here. Do you have any tips, if someone wants to get started in real estate, maybe they don't have a lot of money like you were when you first started, what's one tip for them to get started? Is it, should they pick up a course and learn that way? Should they browse online for hours trying to figure stuff out? Should they just go out there? And what do you think is the first step someone should do?
I think ideally, if somebody really doesn't have money to get started, and a lot of times when you don't have money, that's the big thing. I mean, I've seen people, they might have a website and their website says, we buy houses cash. And then the person who has the website says, I don't know why I had this site because I can't buy houses cash. And I tell them, why can't you? I mean, so in their mind, if they don't have the money to even buy a course, they're afraid that they can't do real estate, because they obviously, if they can't buy a $500 course, they're not going to buy a $300,000 house. And that is absolutely not true, because, I'll answer your question in a second, but I just wanted to point that out. Even if you can't afford a course or something like that to learn, you can do a deal. And the thing is if you talk to a few people, a few motivated sellers, it's all about talking to motivated sellers. If you talk to enough of them, you're going to find somebody that is interested in your solution. And your solution might be, hey, I can get this house sold for you in a couple of weeks, right? Or I can get you cash for this house in a couple of weeks. How in the heck can you do that? Well, if you can get this house under contract for a good price, you can go find investors in your neighborhood, in your area. I mean, call the signs, go after their marketing, get online, start calling. Hey, I specialize in finding deals. Would you be interested in working with me if I could find you deals? I'm just looking for an assignment fee, and it's yours. And you're going to find people who say, yeah, heck yeah, bring me the deals. You're going to find people that say, no, I'm not interested. But you'll also find people that say, heck yeah, bring me the deals. Now you got a place to take the deals. All you need is to get deals under your belt. So if you're short on funds, the biggest thing that I think you can do, you need to know how to tie up a deal. That's important. So if you can find a course on how to do that, that's a big thing. You don't necessarily need to know all there is to know about real estate, but you need to know how to tie up a deal with paperwork, and you need to know how to get an assignment fee, right? That's really important. So you need to learn that at least. Could you do it on forums and stuff? Probably. I would try to get a course of some type on wholesaling if you could. Just simple wholesaling. That's where you need to start, because it's the easiest and you can start making money right away and then branch your business from there. But once you do that, start marketing. And if you don't have money to start marketing, there are so many places that you can get seller leads for free. You just have to do the work. So marketing comes in a couple of different segments, right? One is where it's automated and you don't do the work. You have somebody else do all the work, the mailings, or if it's online marketing or whatever it is, that's all preferably being done for you. And the other is where it's mechanical, right? You're doing the work because you can't yet afford to pay somebody else to do the work. So that means getting on Craigslist and sifting through those dang ads, right? And reaching out to the owners. Don't search agents typically, because they're not going to want to go to their homeowner that's listed the house with them and offer your deal. So do the buy owner stuff. Go through Craigslist every day. Find them. Contact them. Don't be afraid, right? You can email 50 people and maybe get one response, or you can call 50 people and talk to 25. What do you think is going to do better? So reach down deep and do the hard work, and it's going to be uncomfortable at first, but literally so many websites out there where you can find homeowners that are ready to sell their house. Just start talking, and it's going to teach you how to talk to them, and in the process, you're going to uncover motivated sellers.
Oh, that's awesome. Great advice. I think that is all I had. I learned a ton of stuff from you. Thank you for the Green Beret stories and all the marketing. If someone wants to get in contact with you, they want to get a hold of you or check out what you've got to offer, what's the best way to find you?
Actually, we have a resource kit that's really cool. And that's a good place for somebody to start as well. But we have a resource kit, and there's not just one, but there's 7 different ways to find motivated sellers for free. And they can actually go get the resource kit. It's actually at InvestFourMore.com. It's on your site, InvestFourMore.com/commando, COMMANDO. So they can go there and just download that resource kit for free, and it'll teach them 7 different ways to find motivated sellers for free.
Awesome. And yes, thank you for offering that. Always like free stuff. Appreciate that. Great. Well, David, I think that's all I had. A lot of awesome information. Learned a lot. I didn't really realize you were in Colorado right now either, so that's always funny how that works out. But yeah, thank you for being on the show, and hopefully we can keep in touch.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a good time, Mark, and appreciate chatting with you.
All right, great. Well, you have a great weekend, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
All right, thanks. You too. Take care.